A Florida man says he was beaten by a guard at the Escambia County, Florida jail, and he had to go to the hospital.
Fox 10 News reporter Renee Dials talked to the man and to the sheriff's office to get all sides of the story. She's in our studio with what she learned. Renee?
Well, Bob and Lenise, James Ezel says he spent April Fool's Day drinking and partying with his friends on Pensacola Beach. But the fun came to an end shortly after midnight. And he says what happened during the early morning hours was no joke. The incident report from the Escambia County Sheriff's Office says James Ezel was arrested at 1:56 a.m. on April 2nd and charged with trespassing and disorderly intoxication at a beach bar. Ezel, who admits he was drinking heavily, was taken to the booking center where he claims he was beaten by one guard as others looked on.
While I'm being walked in, I'm in handcuffs and shackles. I guess you could say that I wasn't 120% cooperative, doing everything at the snap of their fingers, and an officer grabbed me back from behind, threw me in a chokehold, and lifted, threw me to the ground, and immediately began just choking me.
But Deputy Chris Wellborn says it didn't happen that way.
Now, once he was at the jail, Mr. Ezel began to resist our corrections deputies. At one time, he pushed away from the booking counter and turned toward one of our corrections deputies. At that time, they placed him on the ground. Now, a limited amount of force was used, but it was within guidelines, within policy, procedure, and state law.
Ezel and the sheriff's office agree on one thing. Deputies took the inmate from his cell here at the Escambia County Jail to Sacred Heart Hospital. Now, this report says that was around 6 a.m., but it's not clear in here why he had to go to the emergency room.
At the time of his stay in our facility, he was complaining of a swollen jaw and pain. He was transported to a medical facility, and it was determined that swelling and the pain was caused from a pre-existing condition.
But the hospital records Ezel showed us didn't mention a pre-existing condition. It does say the patient said he was injured during the arrest. The incident report from the sheriff's office includes written statements from 4 guards. One described the force he used to restrain Ezel, stating, "I pushed him onto the booking counter," and he wrote he performed a leg sweep, taking him to the ground. None of the other 3 mentioned the use of force, even though their statements covered the same time period around 2:23 a.m. One guard mentioned Ezel was on the floor. Another said he appeared to fall to the floor, and the 3rd guard never mentioned the inmate being on the floor at all. I asked Wellborn about the apparent discrepancies.
Now, the other report that indicated Mr. Ezel was lying on the ground or fell on the ground, Mr. Ezel did fall back onto the ground after he was placed on the ground by corrections deputies, and he refused to get up from the ground. And they had to physically pick him up to continue with the booking process. And so that deputy who wrote that was a part of that procedure, and that's why he included it in his report. He did not use any force, therefore he didn't write a use of force report.
Ezel has never filed a formal complaint about the alleged beating. We ask him why he's going public now.
And I feel that if somebody doesn't do something now and bring this to light, then, it could happen to another person, and another person, and another person. I mean, it's already happened too many times.
It's important to point out that he elected to contact a news media outlet instead of coming to us and filing a formal complaint.
One of the guards did fill out a use of force report on the night of the incident, indicating he used upper body restraint, bent wrist lock, a leg sweep, and a pressure technique on Ezel. The report was signed the next day by a supervisor who wrote, "The use of force was in compliance with Escambia County Sheriff's Office policies." We wanted to see for ourselves what happened during the booking process on April 2nd when Ezel says he was beaten by the guard. We were told there is no video from that day because they're only kept on file for 30 days.